can I farm enough gold to buy a WoW token entirely from Icecrown? And how long is it going to take to pilfer, plunder and pillage the 400,000 gold I need right from under the Lich King's nose? Well, we're going to find out, because this is GoldLocked. If you're new here, the rules are simple. The entirety of the World of Warcraft map is locked to me. To unlock a zone, I have to spin the wheel. It picks one at random, and then how much gold I must earn before I can spin again. So far, we've unlocked and completed the Howling Fjord, the Hinterlands, and Shadowmoon Valley. And on the last episode, the wheel sent us to Icecrown, and we can't spin again until we earn enough gold to buy a WoW token. While we still have access to the previous zones, with how much there is to do in Icecrown, I don't think we're going to need them. We also unlock any neutral city that we need for professions, in this case, Dalaran. And lastly, I'll say that this series is heavily based on the Goldbound series by Patholerics. If you haven't seen his, go check it out. I wouldn't be making these videos if his series hadn't inspired me to take on the challenge myself. Now with that said, let's get started. But the question is, where do we start? I'm kind of spoilt for choice. There's so much to do in this zone, including 2 raids and 4 dungeons. Up in the northeast of the zone, we've got the Trial of the Champion dungeon and the Trial of the Crusader raid. Now these are small, but we're absolutely going to want to check them out. And then down in the south, we've got Icecrown Citadel itself. There's going to be plenty of ways to make gold in the 3 dungeons. And at the end of the raid, we'll find Arthas, the Lich King. I think given how spoilt for choice we are, we should start with the basics. The gathering professions. Mining, herbalism, skinning and fishing. And we'll start with mining, because there's a lot of gold to be earned in those mountains. We're on the hunt for Saronite ore and titanium ore. The Saronite has a market value of 15 gold, and per each Saronite vein, you usually get 2 to 4 ores. But what we're really hoping to find is that titanium. There's quite a few Northrend style housing items that can be crafted with titanium and titan steel. So with that increase in demand, each single ore is going for 110 gold minimum. And with 2 to 4 ores per vein, if you come across a titanium node, that's nearly half of 1,000 gold from one mine. But those titanium nodes are rare. You're much more likely to find the Saronite, which also still goes for a good price. But if you get lucky, you can get some really high gold per hour from this farm. So I give it a go for 1 hour, and here are the results. We managed to pull in 454 Saronite for over 7,000 gold, 28 titanium for nearly 3,000 gold, and a whole load of other goodies, bringing in a total 11,600 gold per hour. Now that's actually a very strong gold farm, and it could have been better. I didn't really have a route in place, I was just wandering around, and I think I discovered that most of the ores generally spawn in the center of the zone and not round to the edges, so I wasted a lot of time going around the edge of the zone. There was also this weird bug where ores would regularly despawn just as I got to them. Maybe this is a new thing and it's how it is now, but I've never had that when mining before. And sometimes I would even mine one node and find another node directly beneath it. And to top everything off, there was lots of competition. There are a lot of people farming here right now, probably because of the housing items or because it's a good gold making spot. Either way, I know if I do this again in the future, I can do better. Next up, we have Herbalism. And we're looking out for Icethorn and Lich Bloom. Now, unfortunately, these don't seem to have had a boom in price like titanium, but they are a lot more plentiful than the mining veins. There also seems to be a lot less competition, which might help out. So after 1 hour of Herbalism, this is what we end up with. We got ourselves 300 Icethorn for 1,200 gold, 317 Lich Bloom for 1,000 gold, 147 Crystallized Life for 800 gold, and 21 Frost Lotus for 100 gold. Adding up to a total just under 4,000 gold per hour. Now that's not awful, but at that rate, this would be a 100-hour grind. Now we may be able to make some more gold out of them with inscription. We can mill the herbs and then turn them into pigments to get a lot more profit out of them. But that's something we'll look at later on in the episode. For now, I want to quickly try combining mining and herbalism. If I can pick up herbs between the mining nodes, maybe I can maximize the gold per hour. So that's what I did for a quick hour, and the result is 10,500 gold per hour. That's high, but just pure mining is still the king at the moment. But that's okay, we've got plenty more to try. Now, before we look at skinning and fishing, why don't we go take a look at a raid and a dungeon? But not those ones, not yet, we'll leave those till last. We're going to go look at Trial of the Crusader and Trial of the Champion. High Lord Tyrion Fording built this tournament ground as a way to filter out the wheat from the chaff, the strong from the weak. Only the greatest fighters and heroes would be able to take on Arthas, the idea being that those who were not up to the fight would get cut down and brought back as part of the Lich King's army. So let's give the dungeon a try first, and see if we are worthy. Once inside, you have to equip a lance and get on a horsey, and then take on soldiers of the Horde. Now, it was clear this fight was designed for 5 people, all running around and charging at the same time, but seeing it was just me, all on my own, it was easier to hop off the horse and then cut them down with my fish dagger. Once you've killed their little minions, the 3 leaders come out and you have to knock them off their mounts. Once you've done that, they walk out of the stage and then come back in for some reason, and then you can actually fight them. Next up, we have the Argent Confessor. She's pretty simple. You kill her minions first, damage her a bit, then she summons Hogger. I guess she's trying to make you face the crimes of your past, but I don't feel that guilty about killing Hogger, so I put them both down and we move on. And then lastly, the Black Knight, an agent of the Lich King, flies down to interrupt the fun. Now, this guy is obviously a reference to Monty Python and the Holy Grail's Black Knight.
Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left.
Yes, I have.
Look!
It's just a flesh wound.
Look, stop that!
Chicken! Chicken! Look.
Which is honestly just quite hilarious. You knock him down once, and he gets back up, claiming that the flesh was just slowing him down. You knock him down a second time, and he says he doesn't need bones to kill you, but you put him down for a third and final time, and take his loot. Now, there's not much we're actually looking for in this dungeon, except for the champion seals. We get 3 of them per each heroic run, which we can do once a day, and 1 per normal run. And if I get 40 of them, I can buy the Elwyn Lamb, a pet that I should be able to cage up and then sell on the auction house for between 8,000 and 18,000 gold. Now, I'm going to farm those seals in the background, and in the meantime, let's go check out the raid, Trial of the Crusader. It has the same format as the dungeon, a set of trials that come at you one by one, with some enemies being from the other faction, some being animals, and some being from the Lich King himself. First up, we have a menagerie of wild beasts, ending with Ice Howl. He drops us some plans worth a couple of 100 gold, and a battle pet. Now, I did cage up this battle pet thinking I could sell it, but it only sells for 100 to 200 gold. For that much, I might just keep it, because I do want to start getting into battle pets and looking if there's any ways to make gold through them. Next up, a little gnome warlock comes out and summons a demon. As you'd expect, the demon turns around, kills the warlock, and then we have to kill the demon. Pretty standard warlock demonology stuff, really. We kill the demon, and he gives us another plan, this one worth a couple thousand gold. At this point, there's then a little roleplay scenario where the Horde are for some reason offended that an Alliance gnome summoned a demon, even though the Horde also have warlocks that summon demons. Either way, they demand some justice, send down some warriors to fight us instead of the next challenge, and we swiftly execute a load of unnecessarily angry Horde. Our reward is a nice big chest that once again contains some plans worth a couple of thousand gold. The next challenge is to test ourselves against some of the servants of the Lich King. So 2 Valkyr float on in, put up a little bit of a fight, and then gift us some more plans. Now, this is where things get interesting, because on the normal version of the fight, this would be the end of the raid, but on the heroic version, guess who turns up? The Lich King himself. Although he's not here to actually fight you, he just wants to show off a bit, smash the ground, and send you down to fight some of the Nerubians. And that's how we find ourselves now underground, facing Anubarak. But a couple of fan of knives later, and we have ourselves, again, some more plans. Our gold for this run is going to be somewhere between 2,000 and 12,000. Any money we make is going to come from selling these plans, and right now they have quite inflated prices, but maybe they'll sell. Or maybe they won't, and we'll have to cut them quite cheap. Now, during that, I earned enough seals to buy that lamb. So I popped to the vendor, purchased it, used it, caged it, then went to the auction house and put it up for 8,000 gold. Now, I'm curious to see if it sells, because this is the first time I'm making gold from a battle pet. It's not a market that I really understand, but one I would like to learn. Now, with that done, I want to give skinning a try. It's absolutely my favorite gathering profession. I always just find it to be so chill, so relaxing, but there's a small problem. Skinning generally requires there to be a good quantity of beasts. Obviously, you kill the beasts and then you skin their fur and their hide, which you can sell to leather workers to turn into some kind of leather armor or tool. But this is Icecrown. There are no beasts in Icecrown. There's not even anything living in Icecrown. It's all dead or decaying corpses. But I'm not going to give up that easily. I scoured the zone to find any mobs that I could skin, and I actually found a couple. So at the Argent Vanguard campsite, the defenders are constantly being swarm attacked by spiders. These spiders you can skin for Borean leather and Nerubian chitin. But I discovered something even more interesting. Just beyond the Argent Vanguard, there is Scourgeholm, and there are some big Nerubian monsters here, and supposedly, according to Wowhead, they have a high drop rate of that pricey and expensive Nerubian chitin. But when I was killing them, they weren't lootable or skinnable. So I did some research, and it turns out they only become interactable once you enter phase 1 of the Ebonhold questline. It was just a few quests, so I got them done quickly, and yes, I could now loot and skin the big Nerubian monsters at Scourgeholm. But this brought on another problem. This meant that the spiders were not spawning and swarming the Argent Vanguard anymore. So while we've gained a new skinning option, we've lost a previous one. And since I never got round to testing the old one, we're not going to know which one is best in regards to gold per hour, since I don't know of any way to revert the quest line to get back to that phase. But oh well, no point crying over spilt milk. All I can do now is test the Scourgeholm skinning route and see how it does. Sadly, it seems like the drop rates on Wowhead are a bit out of date. While I was getting Nerubian chitin, it certainly wasn't that 25% drop rate with 1 to 4 per drop that the website had promised. But it still wasn't too bad. The Scourgeholm skinning route was bringing in around 5,400 gold per hour, which, while isn't huge, certainly nothing to shake a stick at. Its big downside was lots of travel time between finding skinnable monsters. So I think with a bit more digging, we could find something better. And I did. I found the jackpot. Just to the left of the entrance to Icecrown Citadel, there's this little bit of overlooked land. On this land, you'll find fallen spider lords and necrotic web spinners, and these seem to be a hyperspawn. Even though there's never more than 3 or 4 at a time, they spawn back quick enough that I spend very little downtime having to find new spiders or Nerubians. Because it's a hyperspawn, the anti-hyperspawn farming mechanic that WoW has implemented seems to kick in after a couple minutes, but that doesn't matter to me, because I don't care about looting them, I just want to skin them. There's also just no competition here. I did see a couple players at Scourgeholm, but here, no one. As a result, we've managed to up our skinning profit to 6,600 gold per hour. Now that still doesn't even come close to mining, but I do believe that's the best we're going to get out of skinning from this zone. And to be honest, I'm happy with it. It's a fun, relaxing farm, and it's an easy one to do with a stream or a video in the background. Talking of relaxing gathering professions, next up, let's go fishing. While Icecrown is a great zone in every other way, it sucks for fishing. There is not a single fishing school on the entire map. When it comes to inland fishing, your choices are kind of down to a couple of muddy pools or the water that's collected in a quarry. Also, just quickly, does anyone know what this is? I'm not sure if this is a graphics bug or if this is something I've not seen before, but there's this weird thing at the bottom of the quarry. I'm not going to say what it looks like, but if anyone knows what this is, let me know. Anyways, for sea fishing, there's also not any really nice spots. Most of the coast is rocky, jagged mountains. The nicest place I could find was on this boat, and none of them really brought in much gold. The best fishing spot I could actually find is a little bit of a sneaky one. There's a river in Crystal Song Forest, but the start of that river is in Icecrown, and it is definitely within the zone's boundaries. But fishing from that river, from this location, I seem to get access to both the Icecrown fishing loot and the Crystal Song fishing loot, which means I can fish up the Glassfin Minnow and the Borean Mano War, the two actually pricey fish that these zones offer. But even with that, fishing still only brings in a maximum of 1,500 gold per hour. That's so low it doesn't even deserve the ding sound. Now why don't we spice things up a bit and head in to the Icecrown Citadel dungeons. And there are 3 of them: the Forge of Souls, the Pit of Sauron, and the Halls of Reflection. And in all 3 of them, we're only looking for one item: the Battered Hilt. It's an epic item that can drop from any monster in the 3 dungeons, and it can be sold on the auction house. Someone who owns one can use it to start a quest chain that allow people to get this sword, Quell de la. It is a prismatic blade forged by the Night Elves and the 5 Dragonflights, and it serves as an idol of opposition against the Scourge. This means it's quite a unique transmog item, and since you can't get it without the Battered Hilt, and the Battered Hilt has a low drop rate, we can sell the Battered Hilt for between 30 and 60,000 gold on the auction house. But it only drops on heroic difficulty, and we can only do the heroic difficulty once a day. But across 3 dungeons, that's 3 times a day. There's just one little problem. Of these 3, the Pit of Sauron stands out from the others by far as the best one to farm. It has a huge amount of trash mobs, which drastically increases our chance of getting this item to drop. But when we try to enter this dungeon on heroic difficulty, we get this interesting message. So we can't enter this dungeon on heroic difficulty until we are level 90, and level 90 is currently physically impossible. It's because the mythic version of the dungeon is being used in Midnight Season 1 mythic rotation. Why that locks you out of the heroic version, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's intentional or an accident. Either way, we can't go in, so that means we're forced to use the other two dungeons. Now the Halls of Reflection is basically useless. Now it's a really cool dungeon, but it's mostly cutscenes and mobs that don't drop loot. The cutscenes are great though. If you really like Lich King lore, you should definitely run this dungeon. There's a great conversation between Jaina and the spirit of Uther.
I suspect that the piece of Arthas that might be left inside the Lich King is all that holds the Scourge from annihilating Azeroth.
Then maybe there is still hope.
No, Jaina! He is coming. You... Silence, Paladin.
Plus a really cool fight where you're chased down by the Lich King. He's just constantly, slowly walking after you, never stopping, until you're eventually saved by a gunship.
Nowhere to run. You're mine now.
Fire! Fire! Quickly, climb aboard. We mustn't tarry here. There's no telling when this whole mountainside will collapse.
So yeah, an amazing dungeon, but useless for getting the battered hilt drop, which leaves us with the Forge of Souls. While it's significantly better than the Halls of Reflection, it's still nowhere near as good as Pit of Sauron. It has a few trash mobs between the bosses, but there's only 2 bosses. Although I must say the last boss in this dungeon has been one of my favourites for a long time. I just find it to be very creepy and unnerving, and I like that in a World of Warcraft boss.
You dare look upon the host of souls! I shall devour you all! The 12 souls will not be abated! You only delay the inevitable!
So, our options have gone down from 3 dungeons to 1, but you aren't going to believe what happened. I did 2 test runs of the Forge of Souls, just to see kind of what drops, how quickly I could do it, whether I could get back to the dungeon without hearthstoning, stuff like that. Then on my 3rd run, I decided, well, this is now farming, so I should probably start recording in case I get a good drop. Then literally, the first pack of mobs I kill when I start recording, this happens. You can kind of see me freeze up for a second as I don't really believe what's happened. Now this isn't an ultra rare drop, but I've seen people run the Pit of Sauron 100 times without it dropping for them. And this was my 3rd run on the Forge of Souls. That's incredibly lucky. Unfortunately the price seems at the lower end right now of around 30,000 gold, but for a total of 15 to 20 minutes running this dungeon, that's a big win. And I may as well keep running it every day now. It takes me 5 minutes to do a full run, and I might get lucky again. Who knows? Now, let's see if we can do some shuffles. I spent a good few hours farming a whole load of herbs and ores, and I want to see if I can maximize the profit by turning them into inks and bars. Now, let's start with inscription. We can mill all the herbs that I looted, and we can turn them into azure pigment and icy pigment. And it's going to take some time, so I'll come back in a bit and see if we've made any money from this. It's been about 10 minutes, and we've made 874 gold. Now that's not the total gold we've made, that's the additional amount that we can sell these for if we were to sell these instead of the raw herbs. But we can go one step further and we can turn those pigments into inks. We've got Inks of the Sea and Snowfall inks. Once again, this is going to take a little while, so I'm going to go grab myself some noodles. So after a total of 30 minutes and 1 pot of noodles, we've made an additional 2,798 gold. That's not bad for basically doing nothing. Now, what about the ores? So first up, Sauronite bars. It takes 2 ores and makes 1 bar. Unfortunately, it's losing us about a gold 60 per craft, so we're not going to do that one. Next up, titanium. Same deal. 2 ores into 1 bar. And that's losing us over 5 gold per craft, so we're definitely not going to do that one. That leaves us with titan steel. We farmed just enough crystallized earth, fire and shadow to make 1 bar. But we can farm more if it's profitable, so let's see. Sadly, that also makes a 6 gold 50 loss. When it comes to mining, we're better off just selling the raw materials on the auction house without any crafting. There is one caveat to that. We can probably really maximize the profit with housing items, but I want to leave that until the next episode. All that's left to do now is list everything on the auction house using the trade skill merchant plugin to make everything easier and quicker, and then wait for it to sell. And while we wait for all that gold to end up in our mailbox, perhaps you'd consider subscribing. There's a lot more to come in the next episode. There's going to be a whole lot of pickpocketing, because I love opening junk boxes, and there's a lot of junk boxes to be pickpocketed in this zone. There's the housing item crafts that should bring in a lot of gold. And then of course there's Icecrown Citadel, and the big man himself, Arthas, the Lich King. He might not drop us much gold, but there's always a chance for that coveted mount. Now I think we've waited long enough. Let's have a look and see what the postman has brought us. I've moved us back to the garrison for this. The Dalaran mailbox is actually really noisy and would have been very distracting. So, let's take a look at what we've got. Now, there are a lot of big ticket items in here. I want to clarify quickly, I have actually been through this mail once before. We had sold so much that there were several pages full. So to keep things simple, I went through and just cleared out all the small 1 gold, 2 gold and silver amounts, leaving only the more valuable items. So, I can see a lot of Snowfall ink is sold. That's good, made a good amount of money from that. 109 titanium ore for nearly 10,000, that's lovely. Someone bought out basically all the Saronite in one go for nearly 22,000 gold. I thought that would be a big profit for us. Then we've got the Nerubian chitin for 3,500. There we go, the battered hilt and the Elwyn lamb. Looks like they sold back to back. We got a bit less for the hilt than I would have wanted. I would have liked the 30,000 gold, and we could have got more if I wasn't rushing, but I'll take the 25,000 gold. We've got more Saronite from the farming at the beginning of the episode. And then down at the bottom, we can see the Black Rock weapon rack and the Frost Wall Forge from the previous episode have finally sold. That's good news. It means the housing items do sell, which means next episode, when we start crafting Northrend housing items, there might be a lot of money to be made. I get the feeling this might be our biggest mailbox opening yet. So let's find out. That was a massive 168,000 gold, bringing us up to a total of 186,000 gold. That was pretty amazing, but we're going to have to do better on the next episode if we want to get that WoW token. Although that shouldn't be too hard. I'm sure there's plenty of gold to be made in the Icecrown Citadel raid, and of course we'll be taking on those very lucrative housing item crafts. So make sure to subscribe if you're interested in seeing that. We're done for this episode, but I'll see you next time. Bye.